Betty was a light-skinned woman, 4 months pregnant, wandering the town in search of a house to rent. Her appearance and stylish dressing left many wondering what exactly she did for a living. As fate would have it, she met a landlady standing by her gate, seemingly waiting for just such a tenant. Betty approached with a warm smile. "Madam, I'm looking for a house to rent." "Do you have one to let?" The landlady's face brightened immediately. "Oh yes, you are lucky. I have just one available." She led Betty to a neat one-bedroom unit. The interior was charming, with a well-designed kitchen and bedroom. The only downside was the communal bathroom and toilet, a short distance away near the fence. Betty, however, was impressed. Without hesitation, she declared she would pay 3 months' rent in advance, pulling out 50,000 shillings from her handbag. The landlady, delighted, handed her the keys. 2 days later, Betty returned to the compound, this time at midnight. She was cheerful and carried herself with unusual confidence. Knocking gently, she greeted the landlady with a sly smile. "Madam, I have brought you some good money to keep for me. I don't need it now, but I trust you will keep it safe." The landlady welcomed her in, happy at the trust being placed in her. Betty pulled out a bundle of crisp banknotes, 40,000 shillings, and placed them in the landlady's hands. The woman counted them carefully, smiling with satisfaction. "Betty, this is 40,000. Don't worry, I'll keep it safe." Betty encouraged her to even invest it in her shop business if she wished. The landlady's eyes sparkled at the suggestion, thanking her warmly. Betty then rose to leave, remarking that it was already past midnight. With smiles exchanged, the two women parted, both satisfied for different reasons. Morning soon came, and Betty settled into her new home. She entertained her neighbor Rebecca over a cup of tea, chatting with ease. Rebecca admired her lifestyle and could not hide her curiosity. "Betty, I can see you have money. What's your secret?" she asked eagerly. Betty smiled knowingly, sipping her tea before replying, "Rebecca, these days life is tough. One must think smart. Relying on a single salary will only keep you poor. I run side hustles, many streams of income." "That's the key." Rebecca leaned in closer, fascinated. "I'd like to learn. Can you show me how?" Betty assured her she would, promising to soon introduce her to her way of making money. Rebecca, with her beauty and striking figure, was confident she could thrive in business too. She walked away hopeful, her mind filled with Betty's promise, determined to think bigger and join her neighbor's world of opportunity. Meanwhile, in another part of town, Dave was drowning in grief. His mother had passed away, and as the eldest son, he bore the heavy responsibility of organizing her funeral. His younger brother, working in the city, entrusted him with a substantial amount of money, 300,000 shillings, for the burial arrangements. Lonely and weighed down by sorrow, Dave wandered into a bar to soothe his pain with alcohol. At the entrance, he suddenly froze. Standing there was Betty, radiant and flanked by two women, Liz and Doreen, who carried themselves like seasoned city girls. "Betty, is that really you?" Dave exclaimed joyfully. Betty's face lit up and she rushed to embrace him warmly. "Yes, Dave. Long time no see." She introduced him to her friends as her boyfriend from the city. Dave, delighted and intoxicated by nostalgia, insisted they all celebrate their reunion with drinks at his expense. The bar was buzzing with life that Friday night, packed with patrons enjoying Members' Day. Music thumped in the background, glasses clinked, and laughter rose above the noise. Dave, thrilled to be reunited with Betty, was overly generous. "Order whatever you want, girls. The bill is on me. I'm loaded tonight. Let's drink like there's no tomorrow," he shouted, his face glowing with alcohol and excitement. Liz and Doreen exchanged knowing glances, their smiles hiding intent. "Betty, you've got yourself a wonderful man," they teased. The women drank heavily, but showed no signs of intoxication. Seasoned drinkers who knew how to play the game. Dave, on the other hand, grew increasingly tipsy, stumbling frequently to the washroom. On his final trip away, Betty seized her chance. With practiced ease, she slipped sleeping pills into his drink. The trap was set. Liz and Doreen watched calmly. This was a scheme they had perfected. The The morning after was a cruel awakening for Dave. He opened his eyes in a shabby lodging, his head pounding and his body sprawled naked on a strange bed. Panic rushed through him as he patted his clothes, only to discover his pockets were empty. Every coin, every single shilling meant for his mother's funeral, was gone. His heart raced, his mind clouded with despair. Beads of sweat trickled down his face as the magnitude of the loss struck him. 300,000 shillings entrusted to him had vanished overnight, stolen under the haze of drink and deceit. Stumbling to his feet, Dave dressed hurriedly in shame and rushed to the nearest police station. His voice shook as he reported the theft, but deep down he knew the humiliation cut deeper than the crime. He had been outsmarted, betrayed by the very woman he had once trusted and adored. Fueled by rage and humiliation, Dave later tracked Betty down in another bar. She sat there drinking as if nothing had happened, her friends Liz and Doreen nowhere in sight. The sight of her ignited his fury. Without hesitation, he stormed over and attacked her, striking her in a blind rage. He tore at her dress, ripping it apart in search of his stolen money, even forcing his hands toward her private parts. Betty, blinking and naked, staggered to her feet in shock, but the commotion had already drawn a crowd. Patrons followed as Dave dragged her outside, frog-marching her through the streets. A mob quickly gathered, shouting and jeering, their eyes fixed on Betty's exposed, swollen belly and bare skin. The sun burned hot on her naked body, yet she walked defiantly, her shame displayed before the entire town, her pride tested against the weight of disgrace. The humiliating procession ended at the gate of Betty's compound, where the landlady stood in shock. Betty, bruised and bleeding, appeared unbroken, her swollen belly protruding defiantly as the crowd jeered. She looked the landlady straight in the eye. "Madam, I want the money I gave you last night for safekeeping, 60,000. Bring it now." Stunned, the landlady hurried inside and returned with the bundle of cash. "Here, count it. Make sure it's all there." Betty shook her head with disdain. "No need. I trust you." She pulled out 2,000, clutching it firmly, and handed the rest to Dave. "This," she snarled, "is your payment for sleeping with me." 2,000 for a night. Dave trembled, speechless, as the words cut deeper than the theft itself. Meanwhile, Liz and Doreen had long disappeared, hiding away with the rest of the money, 250,000 shillings, meant for his mother's burial. Later that day, the landlady spotted Betty wrapped in a colorful lasso, heading toward the communal bathroom. Despite the humiliation she had endured, Betty carried herself with a strange calmness, as if nothing unusual had happened. The landlady, burning with anger and curiosity, intercepted her. "Betty, what kind of work do you really do?" she demanded. Betty stopped and looked her straight in the eye. "I am a prostitute." "So what? Who cares about morals these days? Money is what matters most." Her defiance left the landlady seething. "I don't want to see your shameless face in my compound again. Pack your belongings and leave. You tricked me with stolen money." Betty scoffed, snatching her rent refund. "Don't pretend you're holier than thou. Weren't you also a prostitute once? Where did you get money to build these rentals?" Her words stung like fire. Moments later, a pickup arrived to whisk her away. Betty loaded her belongings onto the pickup, her laughter echoing through the compound as curious neighbors watched. She had no shame, no remorse, only a hardened defiance that matched her reputation. Rebecca stood silently at a distance, stunned by what she had witnessed. A pregnant woman, stripped bare in public, yet unbothered. A woman who openly declared herself a prostitute and thief, yet carried herself like one untouchable. The landlady folded her arms, furious but powerless, as Betty climbed into the truck. She was going to rejoin Liz and Doreen, who were already hiding with the stolen funeral money. For Betty, shame had long been abandoned, replaced by the pursuit of survival and wealth at any cost. The town whispered in disbelief as the truck rumbled away, leaving behind a trail of scandal, betrayal, and lessons about greed. Betty, the hard-eyed prostitute, had once again outplayed everyone,